everywhere here, baptism, funerals, weddings, Sunday schools. Our kids raise here, play here, run here.
My parents immigrated here to Canada to help me grow in faith in a place where there is no religious persecution, so that I can have religious freedom and I don't have to worry about coming to church or my church burning down or any bombings.
I know that it's a persecuted group in Egypt, the Coptic Christians. And as I was talking to Magdi, he mentioned that in one day, 22 of their churches got burned in Egypt.
I would say this is an act of terror, and I think we need to declare terrorists.
It's the nightmare that appears to be never ending. I'm standing in front of the latest of almost 50 churches to be burnt or vandalized in Canada in less than a month. I'm going to bring you the full report. We're here on the scene right now. There's still flames on the church behind me. But first, I need to ask you something urgent. Our Prime Minister, our Public Safety Minister, as well as our RCMP Commissioner are not taking these acts of hate and domestic terrorism seriously. We need your help. Please go to saveourchurches.ca. Sign the petition there to hold these people accountable. A country that allows the persecution of any faith and turns a blind eye to it is not a safe country for anyone. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News. I am standing here right now as I'm bringing you this report. It is July 19th, and it is around 47 churches that have been burnt or vandalized in Canada. Right here is St. George Coptic Orthodox Church. Approximately around 3:30 a.m., it went up in flames. But this is just a couple of days after a woman allegedly set the church on fire. Look at this. The Christian faith is one of the most persecuted in the world, if not the most persecuted faith. And now we have politicians and leaders of organizations normalizing and condoning the burning of Christian places of worship in Canada. Barely anyone is saying boo of now close to 50 churches like the one behind me being targeted in what is obviously a hate-motivated spree, a domestic terrorist attack against the Christian community. But what was this community? This community that used to gather here, and by the way, also had a daycare with at least 65 children attending. This church that's still on flames behind me in the dead heat of the summer is surrounded by apartment buildings that could have also been burnt down. And how many families now don't have a place for their kids to be safe and go to while they work? Whose side is the people who are burning and vandalizing these churches on? They're certainly not on the side of First Nation people. If you've been following us at Rebel News, then you know that this hateful spree started on National Indigenous Awareness Day, just a couple of weeks after the first announcement of now several of the locating of grave sites that are unmarked on residential school land. But what you might not know if you watch mainstream media is that many First Nation leaders have come out to condemn this. Why? Because it's attacks against their own Christians on their own reserves, and it puts their whole community at risk. Take a look at this.
I think part of the problem here is that a lot of the young people don't understand the historical significance that the church has, that their grandparents or great-grandparents all went to that church. They went there. They had festivities. They had good times. The church was instrumental in organizing the community.
We were always welcomed. We have a good relationship with the people who come for services there for Mass. They're wonderful, wonderful people of faith and prayer, and just good human beings. And we really connected very well.
Now you can catch the full report on that at rebelnews.com, and you can see more at saveourchurches.ca about the people who have been speaking out about this. But you know who's not speaking out? Our Prime Minister. Sure, he waited for at least 8 churches to burn down and a week to say, hey, maybe this isn't the way to go. But I understand the anger involved in these grave sites. And we all understand that was horrible, some of the things that happened, the kidnapping and the forcing of not being able to speak your language. But you know, that's exactly what the Christians who gathered here to worship, that's exactly what they fled from. This church was attended primarily by Egyptian Christians who fled persecution in their country. Guess when? When churches were being burnt there. Take a listen to this.
I know that in 2013, there was a burning of churches. Like, they must have burned over 80 churches in Egypt. And the congregation were just praying and burnt out churches. And here now, I'm thinking, oh, maybe we could just pray in the parking lot. But I know that there's going to be an investigation and they're going to shut that down. And we don't have a place to pray. We don't. And we don't have much support, to be quite honest. I don't know if the media, they're not very aware of what's going on, or they're not making a big issue about it. But hey, you know, we need protection. We need protection for our communities, our churches, and our people. And we feel alone, abandoned.
You said you guys aren't from Surrey, but you came to support. Why was it important for you to be here?
Well, the first thing that I thought of when I saw that it was a Coptic Egyptian church was that I know that it's a persecuted group in Egypt, the Coptic Christians. And as I was talking to Magdi, he mentioned that in one day, 22 of their churches got burned in Egypt. And so that, to see it happening here, I just wanted to go and see if there was any members of the church that needed anything. And so this is the first person that I ran into.
We are a part of the minority who still use the Coptic language, which is like a mixture of Greek language and the old Egyptian language. So we teach also our children the Coptic language in church. So it is like a destroying of a culture. It's destroying a civilization, like Coptic civilization. So I don't know, the one who burned the church, did he read about that before coming and burn a Coptic Orthodox church?
During when Islam came to Egypt, the Christians were being killed, or they had to pay very high taxes, or they fled to the south. And they were a minority. At the end of Islam in Egypt, they were a minority, and they weren't even allowed to speak their languages. They were punished for speaking the Coptic language. So again, there was a revival. But we have survived. We have resilience. We know what it's like to hang on to your culture. And we empathize with the First Nation people because we've been there ourselves. We know what it's like. But they don't know about us. And we're just saying, you know, get to know us. You don't know us. You don't know what we've been through as well.
You know, there were quite a few people here from the church that weren't comfortable being on camera. And one of them said that back home in Egypt, they weren't allowed to speak the Coptic language. And the only place they could do so was in the church. Because if they didn't, they say that their tongues were cut off. And yet here they are in Canada, what is supposed to be the true North, strong and free, being silenced as well from doing it. They're fearful from gathering, and they're also fearful from the lack of outrage from our country. You know what happened in Egypt when there was burning of churches? The president there, who is of Muslim faith, President al-Sisi, inaugurated the country's biggest cathedral on Coptic Christmas Eve Sunday, a day after a deadly bomb blast near a church in a country where jihadists had repeatedly been targeting it. Do you think the Christians, or even the people concerned about the persecution of Christians in Canada, are going to see that same grace or concern from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? I wouldn't hold your breath. After all, he came here to BC, the very province where these hateful attacks against Christians started, and said absolutely nothing about them. Not only that, when I asked him about them, he posed for a selfie instead of answering the question. You talked about Canada's last wrongs, the past things they haven't done right. When will you speak out about the 20 vandalized churches? They're burning churches and vandalizing them, and you're not calling it a hate crime. As you can see, I was also manhandled for asking the question. That's how we deal with something so horrific in our country. If you want to stand with me, you can go with standwithdrea.com and sign our petition about my right to safely practice journalism, to ask the Prime Minister questions like that. Now let's talk to more of the people who were connected to this church. All right, so you three are looking on at what was your church community. Tell us how you're feeling in this moment.
Heartbroken. I can't think of anything. I'm just walking around in circles and my heart's just aching, shaking. I just needed someone to hug me and to tell me we're together, you know? It's heartbreaking.
We have a lot of memory here, baptism, funerals, weddings, Sunday schools. Our kids raise here, play here, run here. Community communicated, because we are literally in Vancouver. So this was our gathering from all parts in the province, like Langley, Surrey, Coquitlam, Vancouver, Richmond, all stop here, come here.
Now this is number 47 or 48 of the churches that have been burnt or vandalized in less than a month here. What are you thinking about?
For me, it's really ironic because I know my parents immigrated here to Canada to help me grow in faith in a place where there is no religious persecution, so that I can have religious freedom and I don't have to worry about coming to church or my church burning down or any bombings of that kind here. And then 10 or 11 years later, after we moved to Canada, my church burns down, the place that I called home as well. And a lot of the Sunday school kids that I know are also they're young, they've grown up here, they're born here, and they're baptized here, and they feel very betrayed. It's heartbreaking for everybody.
We used to teach our children, according to the Bible teachings, how to love people, how to live in peace, and we will still have to teach them that. And even whoever burns the church, we love everyone, because this is our Christianity. This is what our parents taught us. This is what our church taught us. So, but it surprised me. We came in Canada, as my daughter said, because it is a country freedom and security, and you have the freedom to go to church or something. Whatever you want, you're doing in the protection of the country. But now it surprised me. You asked, it surprised me how they burn churches. The churches is the place of peace. Our church is like a place, like our second home. We come to seek for peace and for love. We love each other. We teach the children since their childhood how to love everyone, how to love everybody, because this is our Jesus Christ teachings. So I don't know what's going on. It's surprising for me, especially here in Canada.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this church and what type of Christians gather here?
Okay, this church normally was a Catholic church. We bought it, I believe, 1996. And now our church is Egyptian Coptic Orthodox Church. We updated to match our style of churches, and since then we have it there.
The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has yet to call this an act of terror or an act of hate. If you could talk to our Prime Minister, what would you say to him right now?
I never heard that, but he should go and read the Bible. This is what I can say to him. Read the Bible, read the Gospels, and see what is Jesus Christ's teaching. It is known that he is a love and he loved everyone. This is what we follow. We are apostolic church, actually. But it surprised me that you said that, because this is the first time to hear that.
I would say this is an act of terror, and I think we need to declare terrorists as terrorists. Call it what it is. This is an act against all Christians. All Christians should unite and speak up, because I think we've been quiet for too long. And when we talk about the teachings of the Bible, it's not the atrocities that happened by certain churches. It is what Jesus told us to do, to love those who hate us, to pray for those who persecute us. And that's what we're doing. As much as we're seeing a lot of hate around us, we don't hate, and we do pray for those who are hurting. But we're hurting right now. Right now we're hurting, and we're grieving.
It's not only Trudeau and our premium and our even everybody in forced to have a word and wake up a little bit and really keep that justice going in somehow without looking for who or what done what. Keep all this side, treat every individual as Canadian, and under the law everybody should be go. Not because you are such you are forbidden or forgiven or some such thing.
Now, are you aware that a couple of days earlier there was apparently a woman who started a fire and put it on the church here?
I haven't seen it. I just saw it in the website. A friend of mine forwarded it to me, and really I don't know about our church if they have put a security guard or not, and if you see that happening, I suppose to put more guard. I think I don't know.
That's a good question. Was there an increase in security or surveillance provided after the attempted arson? I reached out to the Surrey RCMP to see where they were at with both investigations. While at the moment we don't technically know that this was in fact an arson, a Sergeant El Sturco confirmed with me that the fire is being treated as suspicious, and that the information regarding the incident on July 14th, 2021 was shared among all members of the Surrey RCMP in an active effort to identify and locate the suspect. Now, the suspect is described as a Caucasian woman, 5'7" tall, with a heavyset build and dark hair. And in regards to my question about the surveillance, Sergeant El Sturco said that frontline members in specialized units actively patrolled the neighborhood where the arson took place. Except that didn't exactly answer my question, did it? So I dug deeper. In light of so many churches being burnt and vandalized across Canada, and especially in BC, did the RCMP increase surveillance of the church more than usual after they became aware that someone had tried to burn this church down? Sergeant El Sturco then replied, confirming with me that RCMP did not increase the number of patrols following the incident on July 14th. This, my friends, is yet another reason to sign our petition at saveourchurches.ca. We will be calling on the RCMP Commissioner, Brenda Lucky, to up her game to keep Christian communities safe in Canada. But that's not stopping Rebel News from doing everything we can to keep them safe right now. That's why our Rebel News founder, Ezra Levant, is prepared to offer a $10,000 reward from his own pocket to any tipster that sends us a tip at findthearsonist.com that leads to the arrest of one or more of these church arsonists, just like you're seeing here.
Well, there's some people that, in light of the grave sites at residential schools, who have been public and condoned what's happening here, including at the time the head of the BC Civil Liberties Association saying burn it all down in response to churches being burnt. What's your response on that, the people who are justifying this?
That's actually really crazy. I've never heard that happened. That's awful. But I mean, I would say, our religion preaches love, and it preaches peace, and it preaches sacrifice. We understand that even under persecution doesn't mean we gotta hate everyone. Churches in Egypt have been burning down for years and ages, and you don't see Christians going and burning places of worship for other people. But I can understand that being a rebellious act, because not everyone grew up with the same sense of love or the same sense of forgiveness that we would have, and sometimes anger takes the best of people. So I can't just completely hate on someone saying that. I can understand, because not everyone has that love or that kindness or that peace, and maybe that's the way that they feel. It's very sad, because there's always better ways to get justice than burn everything down. But yeah, that's very...
I just want to add to that if even Christians took revenge, they would receive such a negative backlash from the media, from the government who is against us in the first place, this hate-motivated crimes and terrorist attacks against the church will go unanswered in this country because there's no support for Christianity here in any government institution as I can see it. Even amongst conservative politician-ruled areas, which of course I used to be partisan about such things, but conservatives and liberals and NDP stand side by side in the anti-Christian doctrine that they're pushing in school. So there will be no retaliation, but perhaps we should take it amongst ourselves as a community to put volunteers in place to guard the churches 24 hours a day and take shifts to increase our security, but most of all to place some kind of protection and some kind of witnesses there. The arsonists come in the dead of night to attack the churches like cowards, and that woman that you saw earlier, she is a coward in my estimation, and you can see that just, you know, it's callous. She looks like she's congratulating herself as she goes away. She light the church on fire. These people are cowards. And if we put volunteers in place, if people are willing, I know that I'm going to have a talk with the community and ask them if they need some kind of security guard to block and not exactly to block, but to deter any arsonists from coming into the church to burn it down. Because I'm believing that the community itself, we're not a small group of people. We have enough people that we can defend our churches ourselves. We don't need the government. We don't need the police, the RCMP that they're asking for here. We need our own people to look after the churches and to defend them. And if you're selfless enough and caring enough to do it, I call you to defend the churches and to keep watch over them. You put surveillance in place, well, you know, that's all well and good, but surveillance is actually not going to deter arsonists. They're going to try to burn it down and vandalize the church anyway. They don't care that they're caught on camera. They can wear a disguise or whatever is needed. But what Drea was talking about, that there's neither incentive nor the courage amongst the RCMP in those areas to have the will and the goodwill and integrity as human beings to defend the Catholic faith, the Christian faith. So they will not help us. So help yourselves. That's my mom always taught to me like that. God will not help you. You can only help yourselves, and then God will help you. So remember that. Take it upon yourself to volunteer and defend the church. That's the key. We know how to make volunteering for all kind of events, to reach out to the poor and to help other people. Now let us volunteer to defend our churches. This is not going to stop. The way that I see it, it keeps escalating. Almost now every week, every day, you're hearing some kind of church is burning down. So let us be vigilant. God already instructed us that the thief will come in the night. So those that go to sleep and they don't stay awake, the master of the house cometh, and they were not prepared, or the thief in the night take them unawares. So let's defend our churches. If necessary, keep a 24-hour guard on it. The volunteer, if you can manage it, if you're willing, why not? Do it. So, you know, I'm going to make certain steps that I will look at it, because I don't really sleep very well at night, knowing that the churches are under attack every moment, and if somebody could be there to deter them, that would be fantastic. It's not really a vigilantism, because they're not going to attack if they see that the church has witnesses, so to speak. There are people there. You keep the lights on, you let them know somebody's home, so to speak. Then they don't come. even if the dead of night, if they know somebody is present or more than someone is present, I say at least 2 or 3 people, they will not attack because there are people there. People with cell phones that can call the cops right away, so to speak. So let us be vigilant and keep watch over the churches so that nobody can come. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my videos to help my channel, and good day.